Hello, beautiful creatures of the world, and welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. It's a beautiful day in the far north of Maine, up along the Canadian border in the Crown of Maine, and I hope it is a beautiful day wherever you are as well. It is January 12th, 2024, and we at the homestead are battening down the hatches once again as we anticipate another snowstorm coming in this weekend. We had a snowstorm on Wednesday. It was an odd little duck, to say the least. The day started with snow. And then as it progressed, it got warmer and we ended up with a mix. And then by mid-afternoon, we were 40 degrees. 40 degrees along the Canadian border on Wednesday. So that turned all over to rain. But as the night wore on, the temperatures started to drop and any surface that was not coated with snow was glare ice by the end of the night. Now, I'm not sure what happened in my brain on Thursday morning, but I was sitting at the kitchen table. I was having my cup of coffee. I saw clear as day the sheet of ice that was my driveway. And yet when I proceeded to go to the barn, get my barn clothes on, put my work boots on, I did not, for some reason, put my cleats on. Maybe I just didn't have enough caffeine in my system at the moment. And I stepped out the door and took a good old-fashioned county sleigh ride from the top step to the bottom step in less than a second. Unfortunately, I bruised my backside a little bit, but not so much as I bruised my ego. I jumped up right quick, looked around, see if anybody saw what I did out of embarrassment. But nobody's up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Not even in ag country, ladies and gentlemen. The farmers get up later in the winter, unless they have to go tend livestock. So I was safe. Nobody saw what I did. And I proceeded with my day. And as the day wore on, of course, the bruising on the backside came out. The aches, the pains when you get older, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. The aches and the pains, they get you a little bit. Nothing a little icy hot and a little bit of rest and relaxation doesn't take care of. So we got snow on Wednesday. It wasn't a lot of snow. We got about 6 inches on the ground. So I'm really hoping that this storm coming in this weekend is going to produce, simply because we are generally around 50 to 80 inches of snow on a normal year in January. And I am worried about the water tables. When you own a homestead, if you farm, you keep a close eye on the water tables. And like I said, we're usually between 50 and 80 inches already in the year, and we have about 6 inches on the ground. And my concern is drought, because the last thing we want as homesteaders, as people who farm their land, is a drought. You don't want your wells going dry. You don't want it impossible to water your gardens, because you need your vegetable yield on your garden to harvest, to can, to put into your food storage. So without the water tables being helped along by the snowpack, we're kind of hoping that it's either going to be a really, really rainy spring, which we all know I hate mud season, but I'm willing to go through a really long mud season this year, or I hope we have a lot of rain throughout the summer, because like I said, the water tables aren't up, and it's just, it's a bit wild to think what we might be going through as people who live off their land, who are a little more self-sufficient, who grow victory gardens, who have livestock, because all of it depends on precipitation. You have to have a good water table in order for everything to work as it should in nature. Which brings me around to the 5-can challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, how are you doing with your 5-can challenge? If this is your first time to my podcast, you might be wondering, what is this 5-can challenge? It is something I do every year. We began a new 5-can challenge at the beginning of January 2024. New year, new experience. That's a motto, a theme in my life. I try to do something new or have a new experience every single day, or at least when the opportunity comes knocking at my door. I'm more inclined to say yes to a new experience that's offered to me, simply because I know it'll make me a better, more well-rounded person. It will broaden my horizons, so to speak, and I really learn from experiences what my boundaries are, what I'm capable of, what I need to work on. I like to step outside of my wheelhouse every now and again and get wisdom and get knowledge of other things in the world, of other people's experiences. Maybe I'm good at something that I don't realize I'm good at. And maybe I'm going to fail miserably at this new experience. But in any event, I'm going to try, and that is going to give me wisdom and a possible connection to people, places, and things that I wouldn't have ordinarily connected with. So I try to learn something new every day. I try to have a new experience every day, or like I said, at least when the opportunities present themselves, I'm generally all on board. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, the 5-can challenge, if you have not ever listened to my podcast before, is just a simple way to build your food pantry. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the store, you're going to do your regular grocery shopping, and you're going to buy 5 extra cans of some type of food that your family is going to eat. And that is the key when you are building a pantry. Get food that your family enjoys eating. Because during hard times, if you are left with a pantry of things nobody likes, it just makes the hard times harder. So you're going to go and you're going to get your 5 extra cans. You're going to put them on your pantry shelf. Now, people say to me all the time, I have no extra money. Where am I going to find this extra money? Generally, you can find this money one of 2 ways. If you go to work every day and you stop at the coffee shop and you're getting a coffee every single day, you can give up 2 of those coffees, because those coffees are topping in these days at $3 and about 50 cents a cup. Don't get 2 coffees during the week. Sacrifice. Take that money and go and buy your 5 cans of vegetables that your family is going to eat. Vegetables here up along the Canadian border, we're 15 minutes from Canada, they're running about 79 cents to 89 cents a can, and that's at the most expensive grocery store in town. So you can figure out how to come up with $5 extra to get your 5 extra cans. And if you are not a person that goes to the coffee shop, I'm sure you can look in that grocery cart of yours and find something that you don't necessarily need, such as maybe a bag of chips. Put the chips back on the shelf. Novel idea. I'm not sure what the cost of chips are, because we don't eat chips here. We don't eat anything that I do not make from scratch. We are on the no sugar added lifestyle, which means we don't eat anything except whole food, or food as whole to nature as possible. We do not eat processed food. We do not eat seed oils. But these are topics for another time. If you start cutting all this stuff out of your life, you will see what I mean. It's a vast topic, and it really is a topic for another time. But that's what we do. So I'm not sure what chips are running. Maybe they're running about $5 a bag. Put them back on the shelf. There's your 5 cans of nutritious vegetables for you to consume. Put on your shelf, put away, and begin your pantry. This is an easy way to start your pantry. If you don't have a pantry at all and you pick up every week 5 cans of something, pretty soon, before you know it, you're going to have a full-blown pantry. It's also a great way to restock your pantry, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of us utilize our pantries heavily during the holiday season. I know we did an extra heavy haul on our pantry this holiday season because we had no car. Our car broke on Christmas Eve. And as we know, the adventure van's at a friend's garage getting fixed up for the springtime so that we can go on adventures. That left us with 1 car. Then that car broke on Christmas Eve, and that had to go to the garage, and we just got her back 2 days ago. It's been a long slog without a car. And as a result, we could not get to the market whenever we pleased. So we heavily utilized our food pantry. One of the things that people don't understand when they're building a food pantry is that you do need to use the food that you are storing. Doesn't mean you're going to go rampant and decimate your food pantry all in one shake, but you do need to use the products. What it does is it rotates the products. Products do go rancid in a pantry, especially if you do not store things correctly. Your flour will go bad. It'll get all buggy. It could get moldy if you are not storing it correctly. Another thing that often goes weird on people is dry milk. If you're putting powdered milk in your pantry and you're not storing these items, these perishable items correctly, they do store for a long time, but if you don't store them correctly, they will go rancid, they'll go moldy, they'll go buggy. So what you do is you want to utilize your pantry, you want to actually use your pantry, and then you want to replace the items that you have used with the items that you have consumed. It keeps your pantry fresh. It keeps your pantry rotated. You're going to use the oldest stock first, and you're going to take the new stuff and you're going to put it at the back of your pantry. So you're always in a forward rotation. You're always rolling your cans, ladies and gentlemen, as we like to call it here on the homestead. And if you utilize the 5-can challenge as you use your pantry, you're continually every week buying 5 cans of something your family is going to eat and putting it back onto your pantry, so it's always in replacement. Another way that we use our pantry is once a week, every week, 52 weeks a year, we have the pantry cook-off day. Now, this is a really wild challenge that we do. One week I'll do it, one week he will do it. And that gets us skills for cooking with only the products that we have in our pantry at the time. So what people don't really take note of is not only do you need to build the pantry, not only do you need to use bits and pieces of the pantry, but you also need to learn how to cook with that particular pantry that you have built. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a challenge, because if you are opening a canned ham, it is different than making a fresh ham. If you are opening and using canned chicken, it tastes different than using a fresh chicken from the store or from your backyard, wherever you get your protein. And sometimes these differences in taste present a challenge to the palate when you go to consume them. So we play a little game and we practice cooking with our pantry items. And it's such a hot thing at our house that our kids love bringing their kids over to pantry cooking night, because they come over with recipes. I don't know where they get these recipes. They devise them out of their imagination or whatever, and they describe a meal that they want to eat, and then they say, can you do that off of your pantry and actually make it taste good? And so we do a lot of that. And some days the food is very palatable, it is very delicious, and other times you put it in your mouth and you're not sure where to put it after that, but you definitely don't want to swallow the damn thing. So we have a lot of fun with our pantry. We have a lot of fun learning how to make things from scratch, learning how to use our pantry. One of the big keys to a good pantry is spices. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, if you can add a spice to doing the 5-can challenge, every couple weeks buy 5 cans and a spice off of the spice rack, you do not know how important spices are until you start eating a complete dinner of canned food. Canned food can be very darn salty and not have the greatest flavor ratio. So get some spices in your pantry. That's my biggest secret to pantry building. When people are starting to build pantries, I tell them all the time, don't forget to take a week. Maybe it's every other week, maybe it's 1 week or a month, and buy a spice. It will add so much more flavor to your pantry cooking. I am so sorry about that mini intermission that we had, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. but I forgot to shut my phone off again. And although everybody that I know knows the days and times that I record podcasts, there's always one or two people that's gonna call me up because something miraculous, something exciting, something has happened in their lives and they need to talk about it. So that's my fault, and I do apologize to you guys for that little intermission. Where were we? We were talking about adding spices to your food pantry. Building a pantry can be challenging. It can be daunting, and this is why we do it with we start with the 5 cans on the 5 can challenge. It'll get you going. And a lot of times people find out once they start going on it, they can't stop. It becomes an addictive little hobby. And there's a lot of components and a lot of facets to pantry building. Not only do you need to build a food storage, but you also need to build a first aid storage, an over-the-counter medication storage. You need to build a hygienic storage for all your hygiene needs, a little bit of a water storage. And once you start adding all these facets and these components together, it just seems so overwhelming to somebody just starting out. So we'll take it in chunks. Bits and pieces, baby steps. Remember, in the race of the tortoise and the hare, the tortoise actually crossed the finish line. It doesn't matter how fast you do something. It just matters that you do it and you do it well. Now, there's a lot of people out there, even on the big YouTube channels and the big Rumble channels, saying, you should have a food storage by now. If you haven't had a food storage by now, you're never going to get there, and you will get there. You will slowly build your food storage every single week, and you will get to where you need to be, and you will be able to meet the needs of your family. Another reason why we do the 5 can challenge here on my podcast is because people feel weird and awkward about putting food away. Most times, when you begin building a pantry, you tell people about it. I got 10 cans of corn and I've got 6 cans of carrots, and all of a sudden they're making fun of you. Now, I don't understand why people feel at liberty to tease other people who are doing something that benefits their lives, that will actually help them when they are in need. I find it very strange and very odd that the minute you start talking about pantry preps, people start going off the wall and asking you, what are you waiting for Armageddon to happen? What are you, a prepper? Are you a survivalist? It just gives other people the license to tease the heck out of you. Well, here with the 5 can challenge, I'm doing the challenge, you're doing the challenge, other listeners are doing the challenge, and it forms a small community so that people who are hitting some resistance in their lives about building a pantry, they can feel a little more comfortable, a little more at ease, and they will end up eventually having the success that they need to have. And let me tell you, all those people who tease you about building a pantry and turning into a prepper or waiting for Armageddon to happen, those are going to be the people that are, first and foremost, they're going to be in need, and they're going to be at your door, and they're going to be grateful you built that pantry. But secondarily, if something happens and a calamity happens in your life, those are also going to be the people that probably aren't going to be around to help you. Just throwing that out there. I find that people who have a very negative view of taking care of themselves, having a little independence and a little self-sufficiency, those people that have those negative views on that are always the people who, if you need anything, big or small, they're too busy and they're not around. So don't pay the heck attention to how they're teasing you or what they have to say to you. In fact, many times I have been with groups of friends, and some way, somewhere, somehow, the topic has been brought up about my OG lifestyle and building pantries and the homestead. And I've been called the eccentric friend many, many times, and I have been in a group of people that I really don't know because I was invited by friends to an event, to a function, to a dinner, and there's always one person at the table that says, "Oh, you're the homesteader, you're the OGer," and it's just like, it blows my mind that people have no capacity to be responsible for their own lives in any shape, way, or form. They'd rather rely on, if there's a natural disaster, they'd rather rely on outside entities to come in and take care of them. And it is forever blowing my mind, especially when I go to dinners and stuff and people say, "Oh my God, you live off grid, oh my God." And they want to know the ins and outs of Tom's ass about living off grid, not because they're going to do anything to promote their own self-sufficiency, but simply because they're curious. They don't have the ambition to do this. And it actually marvels them that people in this modern day and age would actually choose to live a simpler life. Live like, in our community, we have a lot of Amish in our community. How could you possibly want to live like the Amish? I hear that all the time. And I'm going to tell you, it's those people I hear that from when other people that know them are in need. They're nowhere to be found. They're out at the Walmarts giving their money to China. And let them tease you. That's the moral of that story. Just let them tease you all you want, because you are going to be able to get through any life crisis and any weather crisis if you are able to be self-sufficient and sustain whatever need your family may have during a crisis. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we build pantries. It's why we prep. It's why we make shows like this about the 5-can challenge, because we want everybody to be as self-sufficient as they possibly can be, in case inclement weather strikes, in case you have 1/3 of your plow force in effect in your town, in case during a storm you do lose your power. You're going to be eating, your family's not going to be hungry, and it's going to be one less thing for you to think about during a crisis event in your life, whether it's no transportation to the market, whether it's becoming unemployed, getting that last paycheck, and then having to wait 2 weeks for the unemployment check to come in. It's a burden that's been lifted off your shoulder, because you know all you got to do is go shopping in your pantry and you're gonna eat your next meal. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, thank you for joining me on this Friday's podcast, and I look forward to talking to you about another topic another day. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, carpe diem, because no one promised you a tomorrow.